Classes are a template for creating objects. They encapsulate data with code to work on that data. Classes in JavaScript are built on prototypes, but also have some syntax and semantics that are unique to classes. For more examples and explanations, see the Using Classes guide. So you have this link. You can read this article if you want. We have here the description. Defining classes. Classes are in fact special functions, and just as you can define function expressions and function declarations, a class can be defined in two ways: a class expression or a class declaration. And here they give us some examples. We have an example of a class declaration. So we use the keyword class, and this class name is gonna be rectangle. Inside of the curly braces, we're gonna call in a constructor, and this constructor is gonna have two parameters, height and width. Inside of its curly braces of the constructor, we're gonna use the keyword this to change the parameters. So we're gonna use this.height, and we're gonna assign it to the parameter height. We put a semicolon, and now we're gonna use this.width, and we're gonna assign it to the parameter width. We close the curly braces of the constructor, and we close the curly braces of the class rectangle. So that is that. And we can grab this example, we can check it out, and now we can go to any tab and you press Ctrl+Shift+I to open your current developer tools, and we paste it here. And okay, we're gonna get undefined, but you can type, for example, you can type in new function, no rectangle, and we're gonna pass some parameters. This time is gonna be, I don't know, 3 and 4, 3 and 5, whatever. And so here we have the rectangle with height 3 and width is gonna be 5. So you have to use here this keyword new, and this is the class rectangle. I'm using these parameters 3 and 5, and as you can see, the height is gonna be 3, the width is gonna be 5. You can check also the prototypes of the object. So we have a constructor, class rectangle, then you have information here. You have the length to name rectangle, you have prototype, arguments, color. You also have the prototype of the object, and you have all this information. We can clean it up. So now we did the declaration. This is an expression now. Expression. The class is anonymous but assigned to a variable. So we have the constant declaration name rectangle, and we're gonna assign it to a class, but this class is gonna be anonymous. And inside of its curly braces, we have the constructor with parameters height and width. And inside of its curly braces, we're gonna use the keyword this to change the height and to change the width, to change the parameters. So we're gonna have this.height, and we are gonna assign it to the height. We end up with a semicolon, and now we're gonna use the keyword this.width to assign it to the width, to the parameter width. We close the curly braces of the constructor, and we close the curly braces of the constant rectangle. And again, you can use this example. You can go to the current developer tools, or you can use your Visual Studio Code. So again, if I press enter, it's gonna, okay, has been declared. So okay, so we can go here. I'm gonna use no rectangle. I'm gonna pass parameters 9 and 9. So the rectangle has a height of 9 and a width of 9. And again, you're gonna get the information here. You have height, width, you have the prototype object, you have the constructor as a class, and the object. So that is that. We have again the expression again, but this time the class has its own name. So we have the constant declaration named rectangle, and we assign it to a class named rectangle2. Inside of its curly braces, again, we're gonna have the constructor with height and width, and inside of the curly braces, we're gonna have this that height is assigned to height, and this that width that is assigned to the parameter width. So we can check out this example too. We grab it with Control C, we go to the Ground Developers tools, we paste it with Control V. Now we use the keyword new rectangle, and we're gonna pass into 2 and 5. The rectangle 2 has height 2 and width 5. So again, it's the same as the previous examples. It's very similar. So that is for that example. Like function expressions, class expressions may be anonymous or have a name that's different from the variable that it's assigned to. However, unlike function declarations, class declarations have the same temporal dead zone restrictions as the let or const, and behave as if they are not hoisted. So now we have the class body. The body of a class is the part that is in the curly brackets. This is where you define class members such as methods or constructor. The body of a class is executed in strict mode even without the use strict directive. So when you use the in single quotes like a string, the body of a class is executed in strict mode even without the use strict directive. A class element can be characterized by 3 aspects: kind, that we have getter, setter, method, or field. We have location, that is static or instance. And finally we have visibility, that is public or private. So together they add up to 16 possible combinations. To divide the reference more logically and avoid overlapping content, the different elements are introduced and detailed in different pages. So for all this information we have links. So we have the method definitions, public instance method. We have the so you can go to this link and read this article to go more in depth if you desire. We have the getter, that is public instance getter. We have setter, public instance setter. We have public class fields, public instance field. We have keyword static, that is public static method, getter, setter, and field. We also have private class features, everything that's private. In addition, there are 2 special class element syntaxes, the constructor and static initialization blocks with their own references. So here we have the constructor. The constructor method is a special method for creating and initializing an object created with a class. There can only be one special method with the name constructor in a class. A syntax error is thrown if the class contains more than one occurrence of a constructor method. So a constructor can use the keyword super, the super keyword, to call the constructor of a superclass. And again, if you want to read more, you have this article about the super keyword. You can create instance properties inside the constructor. So for example, we have, so here we have the class rectangle, and inside of that we're gonna have, inside of the curly braces, we're gonna have the constructor with height and width, as we saw in the previous example. We use the keyword this to change the parameters, and we change the height parameter and we assign it to that parameter, height. We end up with a semicolon, and we do the same for the next parameter. So we have the keyword this, that width, and we assign it to the parameter width. Alternatively, if your instance properties values do not depend on the constructor's arguments, you can define them as class fields. So now we have static initialization blocks. Static initialization blocks allow flexible initialization of static properties, including the evaluation of statements during initialization, while granting access to the private scope. Multiple static blocks can be declared, and this can be interleaved with the declaration of static fields and methods. All static items are evaluated in declaration order. So here we have methods. Methods are defined on the property of each class instance and are shareable by all instances. Methods can be plain functions, async functions, generator functions, or async generator functions. For more information, see the method definition. So here you have the article for that. And here they give us this example. We have the class named rectangle. Inside of its curly braces, we're gonna have the constructor with the parameters height and width. Inside of its curly braces, we're gonna have the keyword this.height, and we're gonna assign it to this parameter height. We end up with a semicolon. We're gonna use again the keyword this to change the second parameter, the parameter width, and we're gonna assign it to the parameter width. So we close the curly braces of the constructor, and now we're gonna use getter, and we do that by typing get, and the function is gonna be, the name is gonna be area. So inside of the curly braces, we're gonna return the keyword this that the calculation area. So we're gonna change the keyword this to this function calc area. We haven't created yet, but we're gonna use it. So we ended up with a semicolon. We close the curly braces of the get area, and now we're gonna use the method, and the method is gonna be the calc area, calculation area. Inside of its curly braces, we're gonna return the keyword this that height multiplied by the keyword this that width. So we close the curly braces of the calculation area, and now we're gonna use the function get size. Inside of the function get size, inside of the curly braces, we're gonna use the geol word, and we're gonna use the keyword to change the height. We end up with a semicolon, and we're gonna do this step 3 more times. Geol space this that width semicolon, and then geol space this that height semicolon, and finally geol space this that width semicolon. So we close the curly braces of the function get size, and finally we close the curly braces of the class rectangle. So now what is left for us to do is declare a constant named square, and we're gonna assign it to the new rectangle with parameters 10 and 10. Okay, so we end up this statement with a semicolon, and now we're gonna cancel that log, the constant square, but we want the area of the property area of the constant square. So since the constant square is assigned to the new rectangle, we need to go here to the new rectangle, and we get the area. Okay, this is the new rectangle, but to get the area, that what we are gonna get is gonna be this that calculation area. So when we go to the calculation area, the result that we're gonna get is gonna be the multiplication of the keyword this that height by the keyword this that width. So in essence, we are getting the multiplication of its parameters. So in this case, we're gonna get 100 because each parameter is 10. So 10 multiplied by 10 is 100. And finally, we're gonna cancel that log. Inside of the parentheses, we're gonna open brackets, and we're gonna use ellipses or 3 dots, a square, and we're gonna chain it to the function get size. So it's gonna be this function. So we're gonna get the value of the height, and the value of the height is gonna be 10. The value of the width is gonna be 10. Again, the value of the height 10, and the value of the width 10. So we're gonna get the result 10, 10, 10, 4 tens. And we can grab this example, and we can check it out in our. We can go to Visual Studio Code, and the previous example that we did, or if you don't have anything in your in your in your JavaScript file, you can just grab that example and paste it here, and just save it. And you go to your HTML and you just delete these buttons that we created before, and make sure that in the script source is inside of the double quotes is the name of the file in JavaScript. The name of my file in JavaScript is test.js, so here I have it test.js, so I save it, Control S, and that's fine. So now I open it with live server, or you just type in alt plus L, alt plus O, and open it here, and nothing is happening. So what you have to do is press Ctrl Shift I, and there you have it. The result is gonna be 100 when we do the cancel.log square.area, and then we're gonna cancel.log ellipses square.getSize, so the function getSize, and the result is gonna be 4 things. Here we have an array, and it's gonna be 10, 10, 10, 10, the length 4, and here you have more information of the array. So that is one way to do it if you want to do it with your Visual Studio Code, or you can just basically go to use the Chrome developer tool. So we can grab this example, and we can go, for example, here to any tab and press Ctrl Shift I, just clean it up here, Ctrl V, press enter. Okay, press enter, and there you have it. Here's the result, 100 when we cancel that log square.area, because the height is 10 and the width is 10, so the multiplication is going to be 100. And then we're going to get an array of 4 numbers, so 10, 10, 10, and 10, because we are cancel that log in the square.getSize, so we're cancel log in the height, the width of the function getSize.